This is Heart Rhythm TV. I'm Roderick Tung. For this featured article in Heart Rhythm Journal, we're returning back to some basics and questioning even SVT maneuvers in the presence of more esoteric pathways like nodoventricular and nodofascicular pathways. And with me, we have the corresponding author, Dr. Satoshi Shizuta. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And we take great pride in the global community, and this comes from Kyoto, Japan. And I will say, we often select cases or different features that are what's in vogue right now, like pulse field ablation for atrial fibrillation, conduction system pacing. You've seen a lot of that on Heart Rhythm TV. But the reason that we selected this one was because this gets back to the basics of what often draws us in to EP, which was basic maneuvers and supraventricular tachycardia and fundamental understanding of some of these mechanisms and fibers. So tell us a little bit about what got you interested with your whole group in these nodoventricular, nodofascicular concealed pathways.
Yeah, last year we published a case report of SVT with NVNF pathway, and also that case has four type of SVT. So that case was very interesting and published in Heart Rhythm case report. And after that, we have a question. What is the prevalence of the concealed bystander NVNF pathway? So we decided to review our previous all AV minority cases and check the prevalence of the NVNF pathway. And actually, we reviewed 150 cases approximately, and the prevalence was 3%. Out of 150, 50 was not had not adequate EP data, so we exclude those 50 cases, and among 101 cases, there were 3 cases with concealed NVNF pathways.
And that's beautiful. So let's dive into it because if you report that it's not rare. So for our viewers, how did you define a concealed bystander NF-NV pathway?
Yeah, it was difficult, but our definition was completely arbitrary based on our data. And we defined NVNF pathway as with AVNRT as a pathway connecting right ventricle or RBB to AV node, mostly slow pathway. And when we perform ventricular exercise stimuli or ventricular overdrive pacing, resetting with delay, prolongation of AA interval occurs. That is through the NVNF pathway. So the definition, the cutting cutoff value of a prolongation was quite arbitrary based on our experience. We set the cutoff point as equal or more than 4 milliseconds in 2 or more consecutive ventricular stimuli with equal or more than 10 milliseconds in maximum in a prolongation in ventricular exercise stimuli. Similarly, in ventricular overdrive pacing, equal or more than 4 milliseconds, a prolongation in equal or more than 2 consecutive ventricular stimuli without a definition for maximum AA prolongation for ventricular overdrive pacing. That is our definition.
And as we take our viewers through this beautifully prepared figure, like figure 4, case 1, showing your maneuver of his refractory extra stimulus that's clearly his refractory, it's late, the tachycardia cycle length 448, and you can see you're delaying the next hiss as well as the next day. And I think
Mm-hmm.
for most people, that would be very confusing because you've got a short septal VA time, less than 70, but a hiss refractory PVC is affecting the tachycardia. And the reason that's beautiful, at least to me, is that we always think in this binary method where, okay, if a hiss refractory PVC affects it, then it must be a pathway. But this is a bystander pathway with AVNRT being what's operative. And that's why I urge all the fellows to take a look at these beautifully prepared figures. Now, what is novel, because that's been reported, Dr. Satoshi, as you've told me, is that you have shown a double or two-phase response to this. So maybe you can just take us through this novel observation of a double resetting pattern.
Okay, yes. So probably because NVNF pathway has strong decremental property, the resetting through the NVNF pathway with delay is transient. So it disappears after 2 or 3 resetting with delay, and the A interval return to the tachycardia cycle length. And then thereafter, the tachycardia is reset through the ventricular pacing through the RVB his conduction a interval shorten to the pacing cycle length.
It's great because then you can see that the late ventricular stimuli, extra stimuli are delaying, and then you
Mm-hmm.
get flat, and then all of a sudden you can advance. So
Mm-hmm.
it's important to scan all of it. And then
Mm-hmm.
ultimately you can terminate,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you show in subsequent figures. So I just think it's beautiful. And I want to congratulate you and your team on bringing this back to the spotlight and also showing some of these novel maneuvers and making just the general practicing EP think a little bit more outside of just, okay, this is AVNRT. Because the clinical implications, Dr. Satoshi, are that we need to be a little bit more careful when we study this and think more mechanism
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want to be missing things.
Yeah, a clinical implication is, of course, academic. We show the prevalence of the NVNF pathway for the past time. Nobody have shown that, and also the detailed mechanism of the two-phase or double resetting phenomenon is very interesting, and I think highly educational. And also in patients with bystander NVNF pathway associated with AVNRT, maybe after a slow pathway a modification, ablation, maybe NVNF ORT or orthodromic Reentrant tachycardia can be induced. So in such cases, we have to target the NVNF pathway. But I personally think that kind of case is very rare. So I think our paper is mainly academic, showing the very interesting phenomenon, which is not rare, observed in 3% of the avian LRT cases. And understanding that intracardiac ECGs and EPS is very educational and very important because accurate diagnosis of SVT is very important. Sometimes wrong diagnosis lead to wrong treatment. So I think our paper not maybe may not have a direct impact on the clinical practice, but I think our findings have clinical impact, maybe indirectly, but very strong impact on the treatment and understanding of the entire SVT cases.
Well, it's a beautiful report. We really appreciate you and your group and congratulate you on the featured manuscript. I think for all fellows and attendings and lifelong learners, the next time you will suspect AVNRT and something terminates with a hysterofracture PVC, it's not 100% of the time that a pathway is participatory and operative. It still could be bystander concealed nodoventricular with ongoing AVNRT. And I think that's really important that we put that in the differential, because you're right, it's academic, but it is electrophysiology. Well, thank you very much for joining us on Heart Rhythm TV. We appreciate your time and your efforts.